Hello and welcome everybody to the Insomnia Running Club podcast. My name is Mark Gallagher. I am your host. It's great to be talking to you. You're very, very welcome to come and listen. What a week this has been. It's been absolutely incredible. It's one of those weeks, and in particular one of those days that will remain with me forever and ever and ever. So many good things, so many brilliant things achieved, so much community, so much fun had, so many people involved. It just ticked all the boxes, and it was just amazing. So what am I talking about? Pretty much, well, I'll give you it from last week. Last week on the podcast, I was telling you about the guy that I heard of, and I run a marathon in his driveway. And I was blown away by this. Couldn't believe that this happened, and he raised so much money for charity, and it was just amazing. And I heard that on a Friday, and then I thought about it all day. I told my wife on the Friday, I think I'm gonna do this on Sunday. And then the more and more I thought about it, I got speaking to Ivan, who I run with. I was like, you know what, it's too early. We can make a bigger thing out of this. So I said to my wife initially, look, I'm thinking about doing a 12-hour run to raise money for charity. To which she sort of looked at me and went, Mark, are you sure you want to do a 12-hour run? To which I paused then and sort of went, yeah, you're right. I'll do a 24-hour run instead, which wasn't the response she was wanting, but it was what was in the back of my mind. And I just totally picked up the wrong cue, but hey ho, we went for it. So yeah, I decided to run for 24 hours in lockdown on a 0.1 mile stretch of footpath. That's at the front of my house. But not only that, we put it out there to the guys in the Run On Club and to everyone and anyone that fancied taking up a challenge. Again, following all the social distancing rules and all that sort of thing, in their own home, in their driveway, in the street, whatever it may be. And the response we got was just incredible. So what we called it was the Run Insomnia #What'sYourChallenge. Or you could just pick your challenge. All you needed to do was just get involved, send it to us. We were posting things throughout the day. The money raised was unbelievable for two very, very, very worthy causes. And it was just incredible. The vibe on the day and even the day before was just spectacular, and it's amazed me, and it's really it's restored my faith in humanity, put it that way. It really, really has. It was just fantastic. So just before we start and I get into full flow with the podcast, I haven't done this before, but I want to do a shout out to a few different people, really, because I'm very, very grateful for what you've done. And I think you need a bit of a pat in the back. Not that it means much coming from me, but hey ho, I'm going to do it anyway. But a shout out to Andy Lewis, who kicked things off for us. He done a marathon, which looked more or less like he'd done a marathon around a trampoline, and fair play to him. He kicked things off with that. David, Brooke and Harley Morrison, who climbed the equivalent of the Cave Hill on their staircase. Heather and Richard Blakely, who done a 5k each. Gemma Fowler, who run 5 miles for the What's Your Challenge. My friend Jared, all the way down in Kalinchy, who done 10 miles around his house carrying a wheelbarrow. So fair play to you. My sister and her husband Debbie and Pete, who my sister ran up here, and then Pete, he ended up at a social distance, ended up giving me a bit of encouragement and ran alongside me. Again, I think Pete done about 5 miles. To Ivan's dad, Ivan Smith Senior, who done a 5 miler as well on Saturday. And to my cousins, Mia, Max and Molly, my younger cousins, who their mum and dad challenged them to stay outside for 24 hours. I think they had a bit of crack with that out in the tent, and they came and joined me as well for a portion of it, and I was really, really, really thankful that they did. To young Ethan Smith, who at 10 years old did a 5k, and he helped out his dad massively. I know he definitely helped his dad through what is described to me as the toughest marathon he's ever done, and believe me, Ivan's more than capable of doing a marathon, so it must have been something. And of course Ivan, who smashed a marathon in his cul-de-sac where he lives. But I have to make you aware as well that Ivan has done this 1 week off the back of an injury. So he is an absolute trooper and made of steel. Really, really is. Tough guy. A marathon is no easy feat, and especially I know he must have endured some pain there. So fair play to Ivan. Well done on that one. On another note, a few other mentions on the day, people who just came out of the woodwork, and you know, we didn't ask it of them, but they helped massively. Our next door neighbours, Davey and Lucy, who just throughout the day were just always there, always offering a hand, you know, over the fence, a bit of support. And a bit of crack to keep my mood up, and no, it was really, really, really good. I really, really appreciate it. A fellow called Darren Miller, who lives around the corner from me, and I've never met him up until Saturday. And the story with Darren Miller is one of those guys. If everybody's on Strava, Darren Miller is the elusive person that's at the top of every segment. And every route that's been done, any route that's close to me, Darren Miller has been the fastest time by far. But I've never met Darren Miller, and he's a real nice guy. He's a real. He helped me out whenever I was really in pain with the whole thing, and he brought a fresh perspective to it, and he got me through a few solid miles. So really big thank you to Darren. To Peter McClellan, who's again another runner that lives around the corner from me. He's been out a few runs with us, but Peter came round in the middle of the night, 3:30, and he spent an hour with me. Took my mind completely off the run, about everything I was doing. So really appreciate it, Peter. To Gail, my wife's aunt, as well. Gail, you're an absolute star. Gail was there beside me again, just talking about running, just talking about everything and anything, and inspiring stories. I think Gail loves inspiring stories too. It definitely got me through a few miles, so thanks again, Gail. And a special note to my wife and my kids. Thank you so much for one, letting me do it, and for two, making it one of the best days ever. Because my kids were there, they got to be part of it, they got to run with me. My wife is an absolute superstar. She's the most amazing woman in the world. She looked after all the social media side of things for me while I was running. She went over and beyond. Nothing was a problem. Full of encouragement the whole day. I love her to bits, and no, it was fantastic. And the kids as well. They were there, and they were on fire the whole day. They were just the business. But yes, a big thank you to anybody that took part. And if I haven't mentioned you, please do get in contact. We will mention you because you deserve a mention, because anybody that took part in the whole day, it was extraordinary. And it was phenomenal. Everybody that took part in their own challenges, so thank you very much. I'm not even going to release the total yet, but pretty much as it stands, we have blitzed what we thought we were going to do by 3 times, and I'm going to wait until the end of next week just to see how far that goes, because I think we are going to, the charity aspect of it has went over and beyond what I thought we would do, so I'm just blown away. It has been an absolutely incredible response. But so what actually did happen for me? I'm going to talk in the podcast about my run, because it's what part of the show, and that's what I talk about is our running and how things are going. But like I say, it was one of the best experiences of my life. Just to paint you the picture, said to my wife, I'm going to do this. I don't think she truly believed me until I put it out on Instagram and Facebook. And then she actually looked at me and went, oh, I'm a bit scared now. I says, why, what's wrong? And she goes, I didn't actually think you were going to do it, but now you've put it out there. I know that's it. It's definitely happening. So there was that. That was the mood in my house. This was on 6 days' notice. I decided to do a 24-hour run. Now, just to paint the picture as well, and just to give you the God's honest truth, I wasn't prepared for this. I was planning to do a 24-hour run in June. So a couple of months training yet, we were getting up in the big miles, and then lockdown happened, and as I was telling you, I was doing miles and whatever, I was keeping focused, but I was lost. The two things that I was really, really looking forward to, the two races, the two challenges, which was consuming a lot of my thoughts, they were gone, they weren't happening anymore. So I needed a new focus, and I needed it quickly. So this was a pretty quick turnaround to get the social media side done, to get the charity side of it done, because it was the big thing. That's what we were doing it for. And obviously the challenge of the run and preparing myself for that. So there was no running up until then. For all last week I didn't do any miles, not a single mile done, a couple of walks and things like that, but no running. And I mean, like I say, I'm physically fit, but I know for a fact I'm not on tip-top form after all the eating and drinking that's been done over the past couple of weeks. But 6 days notice, my wife was sort of like, I dead on, you're going to do that. Then I actually put it out there, and then she was scared to death that I was going to do it. The actual course itself is a 0.1 stretch of footpath that's at the front of my house, and it looks onto a field of cows, and on the other side there's my house and all my neighbours' houses. Nice and quiet street, and that was my race course. My wife then got more concerned whenever the inner hillbilly in me decided to put up a gazebo in the front garden with an old potting table that we have, and it did look like we were about to start a lemonade stall. But that was, in my mind, that was the fixture that I needed. Thinking of the middle of the night, the shelter, the safe place within this 24 hours, the place where I could regroup, and that's exactly what that bit did. And I'll talk to you more about that and more about my setup. But pretty much my gazebo, I had my table, had an extension lead coming out there, and I also had a barbecue going out there. And my wife, being the amazing woman she is, whenever I was getting ready on the day for actually going out, I went for a nap. She painted it's actually behind me if you're looking at this on YouTube, the 24-hour run, and she painted all the charity stuff on it, the name of the running club. She had all the information up on there. So on Friday the 10th at 9 p.m, pretty much I set off on this 0.1 mile stretch of footpath, and the plan was to run that for 24 hours. And like I say, it was just an incredible experience. It was like I can only describe it as like I was in a movie. It was a gig. It was an absolute scream. It was surreal and crazy. So I'll go from the top. 9 o'clock was the start, and a couple of my neighbours were out cheering me on. My uncle, who lives 5 doors down, his wife and kids, they were out again. They done a banner saying "Keep going, Mark," and thank you again. If you do get listening to this, Bernard or Shan or any of the kids, maybe not the kids because I might say a few curse words at times, but thank you very, very much for the banner. It did keep me going in the middle of the night whenever it was absolutely silent and lonely, and I just had these reminders just to keep me going. But 9 o'clock was the start, and it was grand. It was like almost oh, this is a mad thing. This is a goofy thing to be doing out at 9 o'clock at night with my gazebo, my barbecue, all my gear, and I'm just running up and down the street past my house where my kids are sleeping, my wife's sitting in watching TV, and out watching me, and out chatting to neighbours across the fence. And it was just surreal, you know, and everybody's going, has Mark lost his mind? Is Mark just running up and down here for 24 hours right enough? And Amy's like, yeah, that's kind of what's happening. And that sort of was it. But that was more or less it from 9 p.m. until about 1 a.m. Then the most extraordinary thing happened that I did not realise that happened where I live. But I have found a dogging hotspot, which is about 150 yards from my house, which is disturbing. It's not a hotspot. I'm convinced I spotted two people dogging, or at least going for a lumber, a smooch, or whatever you want to call it, just beside a farmer's field. So in my mind, it's rural. That means it's dogging. Pretty much the man wearing the black regatta jacket and the black hat, and the lady wearing the pink regatta jacket and the cream hat, yous were spotted. Yous must have been at it for about 45 minutes, and you were probably thinking to yourself, who is that pervert running up and down the street catching a peek every minute or so? Well, that was me, and there was a purpose behind it. And if you're listening to this, the doggers in the hedge with the pink regatta jacket and the cream hat, and the fella with the black regatta jacket and the black hat, send us a few quid, because it was for charity and he's got caught on. Sure, we'll not reveal names. Not that I know your names, but just were caught out anyway. So yes, discovered dogging at 1 a.m. Close to where I live, and I couldn't believe it. And I really hope that doesn't bring down the house prices either from me revealing that, but it's just the truth. And I had a laugh by myself. It was hysterical, actually thinking that was what was going on. But I'm sure they were wondering, what is this creep doing as well? So pretty much from 9 a.m. until 1 a.m. it was just an emotion, you know, going through it. It was like 5 miles per hour really is what I was being clocked, 6 miles per hour. It was quite what I thought. Whenever I first started off, I was like, this is really reserved. This is very, very reserved. This is good plan, Mark. This is slow stuff. We're going to maintain this here. So kept going. There was then one of the neighbours 4 doors down who had never met before, who came out, and he was running alongside me, well, a couple of meters away alongside me, but we're having a chat. This was at 1 a.m. And he must have done 2 miles with me. So Paul, if you ever do get listening to this podcast, thank you very much for coming out and sharing it with me, because I maintain to this day that running with people is better than running alone. Just that sense of community. The miles go by faster when you're having a chat. And he was a real nice man, and I really, really appreciate it for coming out. And yes, I am drinking during this podcast. So if you're seeing this on YouTube, this one's for Paul. It's a wee cheers to him there. So yes, Paul ran with me for a while. The next, pretty much at this point, my body isn't taking any punishment. I'm not taking any punishment. I'm just going through the motions. And everything's running right, you know. My body's not getting overly hot. I'm not sweating massively. Legs are just ticking over. I'm not short of breath. My heart rate was always between 130 to 140, so it was in the zone, and it was all really, really good. Hunger then kicked in. So my next plan was, and I'll come back to my barbecue. And again, apologies to all my neighbours who were maybe panicking, going, that's it. There goes the neighbourhood. He's brought a barbecue round to the front of his house. But there was a method to my madness. So at 3 a.m, and again, thank you to the police car that just drove past and didn't stop and lock me up for being a lunatic. Thank you. We've raised a lot of money for charities. You can catch me out for being a lunatic another day. But pretty much what happened was I had sausages with me. So at 3 a.m, whole world is asleep. At 3 a.m, I had my barbecue going, and pretty much the plan was it was ticking over. It was dead low. Barbecue was going, and I was still running. So put the barbecue on, done a couple of laps, turned them over nice and slow. They're nicely getting brown. Another couple of laps, again getting another wee bit brown. Thought to myself, I think I've got another couple of laps in me here. Another couple of laps, put them up on the wee top tray just to keep them warm. I thought I'm getting them going in a good wee zone here. Got another couple of laps done, and then sat down to have these lovely, delicious sausages. So my first go at a 24-hour run, I've got the barbecue going, I've got delicious sausages going, I'm keeping the miles going. This is just a lovely experience so far. I'm by myself, it's pitch black, the whole world's asleep. It feels like I'm the only person awake, bar the doggers and the police man or police car, and probably imagine there's two of them, that drove past and probably went, look at that lunatic out, his wife's thrown him out, he's out cooking sausages in the middle of the night, poor fella. But they didn't stop me anyway, and it was so pleasant and it was so nice and it was just great. Shortly after that, I mentioned Peter came round, and Peter, from what he explained to me, had an online game with his friends, and then he just thought rather than go to bed, he'll come round and show a bit of support, and I really appreciate it, because it took my mind off the run. At that point I was starting to get, that fatigue, that you would get. I was starting to get, I was 6 hours into this thing, and 6 hour runs I've done, but very few 6 hour runs. So I was really appreciating Peter's help, and Peter left me at about I think it was about 4 o'clock he left, and again, absolute superstar, absolute gent, so thank you very much. Things started to go downhill at about 6 a.m. I would love to get the footage of anybody's CCTV of me stumbling down the street at 6 a.m, 6:30 a.m, because it was like a pinball. It was like it had 10 pints of Guinness, and I was walking my way back from the pub. I was staggering all over the place. The other scary thing was, I'm convinced that I was walking while I was asleep, which is just downright dangerous. So at that point, I decided, right, 20-minute power nap, this is gonna be the winner. This is the ticket to me getting myself right again. So sat down, I elevated my legs, set the alarm as loud as I could, charged my watch at the same time. I was out like a light. It's just lights off, gone. Totally switched off. 20 minutes later, I got up. I was brand new. I was absolutely brand new. It got cold at this stage, so I put on some fleece jogging bottoms and a warmer coat, and I felt amazing. It was just like, right, that's it. That's all my body needed, just that wee reset button, and away I went. And from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m, things were, I was just bumping off miles. It was all pretty robotic, and it was all pretty smooth, and it was pretty clean, and it felt great. So it did. At pretty much things just kept going. After 9 a.m, my kids came out with me, which was fantastic. I'm not going to say I run my best miles at that stage. I had to entertain them. I am daddy at the end of the day, and daddy just can't leave you in the middle of the path if you don't want to walk. So it was all good. They were a gag, and they broke up my day for me. Just running up and down with them, and just they thought it was brilliant too. They had a laugh with it, lightning speed. My son was saying every time he ran up and down the street, and my daughter, she was doing it was equivalent of fartlek training. She was just blasting it out, lamppost to lamppost, and then just laying down on the floor, and then blasting it out, lamppost to lamppost. She was away again. She was an absolute scream. So she was. Everything was going 100%. I was motoring on. I had a goal in mind, and I thought at this point, yeah, I'm still within a chance of getting it right up until mile 60. Mile 60 hit me like a steam train. I'd mentioned before about getting new running shoes. I was running most of the day on Hoka Clifton 6. I have to admit, I don't think I'm going to do another mile in Hoka Clifton 6 for them being designed to be an ultra running shoe. Well, for my feet, they were the worst thing ever. I'm convinced it's just the wrong shoe for me, and I really tortured my left foot. It was an agony. Because it was an agony, I was running differently, which was then sending pains up my shins. My calves were like two pieces of lead. They had no flexibility. They had no range of motion. They were just solid. So at mile 62, 63, whatever it was, the rolling pin had to be broke out for the first time. Holy good God. That, if ever you wanted to get information out of a terrorist, a rolling pin over the calves after they've done a long run, and force them to do a long run and then roll a rolling pin as hard as you can over their calves. That will make anybody talk. That is one of the worst feelings you can ever have. Now, it feels good afterwards once you've freed up all that muscle and the knots and the lactic acid. But holy good Lord, that is excruciating. Next door neighbour did offer what he described as a vibrator. Davey, it wasn't a vibrator. This was another torture device, but it just wasn't going to cut the mustard for what I needed. I needed old school torture is what I needed. And it was almost a bit of a kick up the backside as well, like saying, stop being such a pansy. And that's another thing I've taken from it, but I'll talk all about that at the end. But yes, rolling pin came out, and at that point, I mentioned Darren Miller, the Strava Supremo. There was this elusive character. He was like a snow leopard up until Saturday, until he came off his bike after completing a 4-hour bike ride. He was then the hero that turned up outside my front garden saying, right, let's get this run going. And his exact words to me were, well, how have you been? I said, well, you see me there, I was just a bit busted. He goes, okay, well, we'll go at a nice and slow pace, before we ramp it up. And I was like, yeah, laughing. Just to put you in mind, I had, in my head, tried to keep to a 12-minute mile, to keep things as slow as possible, to preserve as much energy, and to stop burning the sort of glycogen in my muscles. Darren turned up, 9-minute miles. And you know what? It was the best thing that could have happened. I'm convinced my body was getting a rigor mortis doing the 12-minute miles. 9-minute miles, boom. That's what I would normally run at anyway. On long runs, sort of 30, 35 mile runs, that's what I'd be doing. He was, it was like an Olympic sprint, but it is what I needed. It got the blood circulating around my muscles again, got everything pumping. It was what I needed. So I got that. I think I got a good 5 miles out at about 9-minute miles, and again it was time for more food. Just felt like the day was just recycling, or just cycles of eating, drinking, Diorolite into me, anything I had at my disposal in my house. Because again, we're in lockdown and you can order stuff all you want online, but you might not necessarily get it. There was one trip to the chemist to get Diorolite and to get blister strips. That's really what I went into this 24-hour challenge with. Diorolite, Compeed blister strips, and homemade Reese's peanut butter cups. That is more or less the race plan and the race strategy that went into this. But like I say, the got to about mile 65, and again did hit another. I hit another wall. The turning. So you've imagined it's a 0.1 mile stretch of footpath. I couldn't get into a proper stride. You know, whenever I go for a run, you know, I'll normally do like a figure of 8 out. You know, I'll go 20 miles away from my house and come back again. You know, through whatever way, or 10 miles from my house and loop out and round and back again. But you're always moving forward, and it's not as if it's twisting and turning. You know, there might be a twist and a turn every few miles, but you can get into a stride and get into a rhythm. There was no rhythm and there was no stride, and it felt like every time I hit the end of the road, that was it. It was reset and then have to start from the beginning to get going. So it was like stopping. You know, they say, you know, when you're keep something going, it's easier when it's in motion. Once it stops, it's harder to get it going. That's what it was like. You know, at mile 65, it was just very, very difficult to get going, to get moving. So there was a few pity party miles at that stage. My next door neighbour, he actually got a video of me, and I just looked broken at that stage. I really, really didn't look well. The sun was beaten down as well. I got toasted. Well, I didn't get toasted. It was just more weather beaten. It was like Tom Hanks at the end of Castaway without the beard. But I say that was a few painful miles. And it resulted in mile 70 having to have another 10-minute nap. And rolling pin treatment again, which second time round was horrific. And the thing about it is, I'm convinced that it was actually Gabrielle who done the rolling pin that time, and I'm convinced that she didn't even put the maximum amount of pressure on because she felt sorry because of the amount of pain I was in. It was more the placebo effect to get it done, but pretty much persevered on. Towards the end of the day, it was like I had this flock of people socially distant and running behind me and beside me. It was an incredible feeling. Neighbours came out of their house to watch. People were stopping at the door, talking to my wife, you know, again trying to keep the social distancing thing as much as we could. But I have never seen as big a sense of community in where I live ever. It was incredible, and I couldn't run. I could run a couple of miles, or mile maybe at a time, but I just kept chipping away. It really, you feed off that. You know, people are out wishing you to do really well, and you just feel it, and you just feel like you don't want to disappoint these people, you know, and these people are in awe of what you're doing. But these people as well have come out to see you and wish you on, and they're talking about the causes that we're doing it for. There was actually a lady came to the front door. I don't know her name. She was talking to my wife, but whenever my wife said what the two charities we were doing it for, the lady actually burst into tears, and just with emotion, just that she thought this was fantastic, and people were just genuinely generous, amazed, encouraging, inspiring, and just wanted to be involved. It was just that's where I'm saying the movie part of it was. It was a mixture between the Pied Piper and Forrest Gump when he was running as well. And at 80 miles, the words near did come out of my mouth. I want to go home now. But I was already at home. But at 80 miles, my knee was barking, absolutely barking. And we struggled on, covering an extra 1 mile. 81 mile on my first 24-hour ultra attempt outside my front door. And to be honest, I am delighted. I am absolutely delighted that I done it. That I even just said I was going to do it. That we followed it through. The amazing response we have had from the fundraising, and the amount of people that is going to help, the amount of people that I've met that are all around me. Again, another sense of community. People that I will not pass in the street ever again. I'll be chatting to them and talking to them. Again, the guys next door being such a big help, on either side of us being such a big help, family, friends, anybody who could get involved in some way were getting involved, and it was just an amazing day. The whole day, the whole experience is just fantastic. Sort of at the very, very end, a couple of people that sort of live near us. Again, these are people that I've never talked to in my life. Very few of them I've talked to, with family and stuff there, and the guys next door, like I say. But other neighbours that were just coming out to see me finish at 9 o'clock, and I got a round of applause and had party poppers, and my wife handed me a beer. I felt like I had to do almost like an Oscar speech, and whatever I could muster. I can't even remember what I said, but it was heartfelt from that time anyway. But it was truly amazing. I really, really, really enjoyed it. It was just such a fun day. And I mean, one of the massive things that have just, again, well, I already knew it, but it reinstated it, is if you feel that something in your gut is right to do it. Just that's it, point blank. If you feel that something in your gut is the right thing to do it. There was plenty of opportunity for me to say no, and not do this. You know, there's plenty of negativity out there at the minute, which is bringing so many people down. And it's all consuming, some of the things that are going on out there. But this was one of the reasons why I give it 2 fingers and just said, I'm doing this. Who's with me, sort of thing. And it's amazing whenever you put a call out like that. You know, people do step up, and people out there are generous. People out there are kind. People out there do have big hearts. People out there do want to see you succeed. People you don't know that meet you within 5 minutes want you to do great things and succeed. So it really, really, really has re-established my faith in humanity. And it's fantastic. So if you have something in your gut that you want to do, that you feel is right, that you can do, no matter how big, how small, how ridiculous, crazy, silly, hard, tough, challenging, if it's the right thing for you to do and you feel it within your gut, do it. Don't listen to anybody else. Don't beat about the bush. Attack it full throttle. Do the whole thing. It's been truly an amazing experience. So it has. Again, there's been I'll not bore you with it in this podcast. I might bring out another one during the week. Just some of the running-y type stuff that I got from it. Just as to what I need to improve on, and just how the actual mechanics of it went. But on this podcast, this is talking from the boyish, childish, sort of harebrained, has an idea, went with it, Mark, that's super excited about the whole thing, and I'm glad I listened to that inner voice and we've done this, because it's going to touch a load of other people, and that it's going to help them, and it's really helped me. Again, like I say, re-establish my faith and that sense of community, and anybody, it's reconnected me with a load of people as well, and built bigger connections with people too, and opened my eyes just to what is possible out there. Just, you know, just how much of an impact you can have just through following what you think is right. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest lesson that I've learned from it, and that I'll take from it, and that I will cherish forever with this. So it was just it was an incredible experience, and I'm so glad that we did it. And it hasn't put me off ultra running in the slightest. If anything, it has made me want to do it more so, and more so and more so. There's something about putting your body to that point where everything about it is telling you to stop. Your brain is telling you need sleep. Your muscles are telling you you're done. Your bones have broken to the point, I'm convinced I broke 2 toes. But your bones are broken and they're saying, stop. But your mind can, if you tell it to, you're in total control of everything. Really, you can just tell it to be quiet and you're doing this, and that's that. Like it or lump it. And that's again another amazing thing, and the power of the human will and mind. I don't know what what exact part it is, but it's a powerful thing. And if you just want something and you want to complete something, it's totally possible. It really reestablishes that nothing is impossible, nothing at all. So yes, hopefully that gives you a bit of inspiration for the week going ahead. And if you had anything that you were considering doing and you're on the fence about it, please just do it. Please even let us know, just so we can share the amazing story with people as well. I found that was another thing, storytelling. The amount of stories that I've told over that 24 hours about other people that I knew, about a guy called Brian Donnelly, who I've actually confirmed he's going to do an interview on the podcast. I told a few people about his story just because I'm in awe of it. I just think it's an amazing story. I told him about him. Again, I was telling stories about books I read, about the likes of David Goggins, about the likes of Rich Roll, Scott Jurek, just all these people who have done these incredible things, and they're everyday normal people who have just went all into something, and they've just achieved amazing, incredible things. So yeah, the storytelling element was just fantastic. And I've kind of lost my train of thought here and what we were doing. I think I was concluding everything and bringing it down, but just as you can tell, I am absolutely ecstatic about the whole thing. It's been absolutely incredible. Can't recommend it enough to anybody that wants to go out there and do it. People saying, I couldn't even think about doing a marathon. Your body right now is probably primed and ready to go, able to do a marathon. It's your head that's keeping you back from it. But again, that's a topic for another day. But listen, it's just filled me up with all the good stuff that I needed to move forward again. I hope it will help you if you get listening to this podcast. Like I say, I have an interview confirmed. A really smashing guy that I've met a few times, and his story would just it blew me away. It blew me away to the point where I will tell everybody the story as far as I know it anyway, but I want him on the podcast to tell his story, because he's a truly amazing guy. He's just a cool guy with an amazing story to tell, and his name's Brian Donnelly, and we'll have him on soon. Again, with a few bits and pieces we're working on trying to get more the bare bones of how we go about these things, how we go about starting to do a marathon, how we go about starting to do an Ironman, how we go about starting to do whatever you set your mind to, setting up a charity event, whatever it is. We just want to get people out there inspired and fired up and doing more things. So it really has ignited something in me, and I can't wait to share it all with you. But hopefully you enjoyed that story for the week, and hopefully it inspires you to go and to do your own awesome things this week. And again, thank you to all the guys who took part in the Run Insomnia What's Your Challenge. Thank you very much. You're absolutely amazing, and it means a lot. And I'll catch you when I catch you. And listen, thank you very much for listening. All the best. Cheerio. Bye.